Valentine's Day is still a while from now, but that doesn't stop me from playing the role of matchmaker here on NFL Daily. On today's show, I have 10 players that I believe will be traded by the trade deadline, and I'm going to tell you where I think they are going to end up. We'll go over all 10, and I'll explain my reasoning in just a matter of moments. Before we do, if you want more NFL coverage, go ahead and subscribe to Chat Sports. Here's what I want to do. I want to see if we can get 20 subscribers off today's video. If we cannot get 20 subscribers off today's video, we might just have to shut the channel down. It's not a threat from me. It's a threat from the bosses. So you want us to stick around? Subscribe now. We'll get 20 subs off today's show and prove the bosses wrong. Let's begin with Brian Burns. I have him going to the Bears. It's pretty obvious that the Carolina Panthers do not want to pay Brian Burns. They offered him around $23 million. He's looking between $27 and $29 million. The Bears are a young team with a lot of money, a lot of cap space, and they need help at edge rusher. They need some pass rushers on that Chicago Bears team. And you think about the Bears' timeline. I know they got off to a rough start to 2023, but they played better as of late. That's a team that Brian Burns fits in their timeline, where you sign him, you extend him, and he's a part of this next era, this build of Chicago Bears football here. He's already off to a good start in 2023. 18 tackles, 4 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble. Brian Burns, I have as a good fit for the Bears. Number 2 on our trade predictions segment, Jerry, Springer fans knew what I was going at there. We got him going to New England. We're on to the Patriots as he joins Belichick in a team that is desperate for help at wide receiver 1. You guys remember that show, Desperate Housewives? That's Bill Belichick right now. I think Jerry Jeudy is one of the most underrated receivers in this league. And part of it has to do with that he has been given just a terrible circumstance of quarterbacks that he's had to play with in Denver, Russell Wilson included, that haven't helped him reach his ceiling. Now, I'm not saying that things are going to be any better in New England playing with Mac Jones these days. But you get him there, you get him a contract extension, I think you're going to say to yourself that it was well worth it to bring Jerry Jeudy to this New England team. So far this season, Jerry Jeudy, he's played in just 2 games to this point. 17 catches, 208 yards. Jerry Jeudy, I think, can be a 1,000-yard receiver every single season if all goes right. So Jerry Jeudy in New England makes sense. Number 3 on our trade predictions, Danielle Hunter. Don't ever call that man Danielle. Off to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I got to tell you, the Jags, this is a team that their identity, they still want to win with their defense, right? And after a slow start to some sorts, we know that the Jags are a contender. They're a team that is trying to take the right steps forward to be among the best in the AFC. But they're playing from behind a bit, right? You got to make up ground. And that's where Danielle Hunter can make that impact on that defense to put this team right in gear in the direction they want to go and come in with momentum, riding hot, right? 6 sacks already this year through the first 5 games. 9 tackles for loss. Danielle Hunter looks fantastic. Jags would be crazy to not want Danielle Hunter in their locker room. Where will Danielle Hunter get traded? Assuming he does get traded. It's our pinned comment today. Give me a team. And if you think he stays in Minnesota, just say Minnesota. Wait in the comment section. Give me a team you think he ends up with. Number 4, man, I really selfishly hope this happens. The Seattle Seahawks bring in Chase Young, edge rusher from the Washington Commies. Now, let me say this. I believe that the Commies have not utilized Chase Young correctly, not to his full potential to let him blossom a bit. Part of it is the injuries he's dealt with. Another part of it has to do with scheme. And it seems very clear that the Commies are not going to pay Chase Young long term. That's a team that is probably not really going anywhere this year. You put him in Seattle and under Pete Carroll, And under Clint Hurt, their defensive coordinator, we know what Seattle does defensively and their track record when it comes to top defensive talent. Chase Young could really take that next step up and play if you put him in that Seahawks scheme. So far this year in 2023, he's got 3 sacks, 11 tackles, 3 tackles for loss. Watch out. I'd love to see him join the Seattle Seahawks and be a potential fit on that front there. Moving on now, we go to Philadelphia. That's where we find wide receiver Hunter Renfrow with the selection for Philly. Now, I don't think this would be a very expensive trade for the Philadelphia Eagles to pull off. I don't think they'd have to give up a ton to bring him in. And what we've seen from Howie Roseman over the years is he gets a lot of credit for being aggressive, right? But what he also does a good job of is finding value players and making them a sneaky find of some sorts. You add Hunter Renfrow to this offense with an elite quarterback like Jalen Hurts. You put him in the slot, relieve some pressure off of A.J. Brown. All of a sudden, you're talking about Hunter Renfrow having an opportunity to be effective and be kind of like a decoy of some sorts for this Eagles offense. So far, the Raiders just haven't used him at all. He's been phased out, essentially, at this point, with just 6 catches for 59 yards. We know that Hunter Renfrow can play at a high level, that he's capable. But he has to have that opportunity to be used and used properly. I don't think that the Raiders are the right situation for that. More names to get to in one moment. But first, today's show brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the place to go for daily fantasy sports. Here's how it works, folks. It's very easy. You pick 2 or more players, and you choose whether you believe they will have more or less of a given number. Let's say yards, receptions, whatever it may be, a stat line of some sorts. Maybe it's fantasy points. And for me, there's a couple in particular that have my attention this week. I like Zach Wilson to have less than 194.5 passing yards, and C.J. Stroud to have less than 242.5 passing yards are my prize picks. If I hit both those, let's say I put $20 down, I'm going to win 60, and you can too with prize picks. And on top of all that, of everything we just told you, we are offering a $100 deposit match when you sign up for Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the promo code CLNS at checkout to get that deposit bonus. The link is in the comments and the description of today's video for more. Next on the list, we're on to Cincinnati, where we find Leonard Williams going to the Bengals, whatever you want to call them. The Bengals are in an interesting situation. They have cap space to spend, and they are playing from behind, which has been kind of a common theme of today. And a guy like Leonard Williams, who the Giants we expect to be sellers, this could be a statement move to put them back to the front in contention and change things up for that Cincinnati Bengals defense. Leonard Williams could be that much of a game changer. I like this possibility for the Cincinnati Bengals to bring in a player of this caliber and really just elevate things. We talked so much about Cincinnati with their offense, but you look at this type of move here, that changes everything for Cincinnati if they can get that help. They lost a lot on defense this past offseason, and they're still trying to make up for it. Look out for Leonard Williams, what he could do in Cincinnati there. More names that we'll get to here in just a moment. I want to ask you guys, who's a player that will get traded before the deadline? I've given you a few names. Now, your turn to weigh in the comment section. Give us a few names as well of who you think is going to get moved. We continue with our trade predictions and turn our attention towards Rashaad Penny, headed to the Los Angeles Rams from the Philadelphia Eagles. Seems like yesterday he just arrived in Philadelphia after he was signed from a tenure with the Seattle Seahawks that was up and down, where he was mostly injured. And now you look at the idea of him heading to the Los Angeles Rams. The Eagles aren't using Rashaad Penny. And the Rams, they need help in their run game. Penny's got talent. The Rams are familiar with him from facing him in the NFC West for several seasons. Look at it, folks. Rashaad Penny, I'm not kidding you when I say this, that he's not being used. So far in 2023, Rashaad Penny has 3 carries. Uno, dos, tres. 9 yards. That's it. That's all they've done at this point. So I think you get him a fresh start. You get him somewhere like L.A., and that changes that offense, and that makes things better for Rashaad Penny because nobody's winning by him having the role that he's had in Philadelphia right now. Another running back off the board, we go to Cleveland. That's where we find the Ernest Johnson finding his way to the Cleveland Browns. After Nick Chubb's injury, the Browns turned to Kareem Hunt to take over that role. They signed him immediately. And Kareem Hunt is kind of what the Browns had feared. We heard the speculation that they didn't want him before because they were afraid he lost his step, that he wasn't the same running back anymore. And turns out they were right. Kareem Hunt is not turning out the results the Browns offense needs. They need to look towards other options. That's where Ernest Johnson checks in. And this is a guy that is being underutilized himself. 6 carries is all, 8 yards to this point. Fresh start in Cleveland. Alleviate that workload with Kareem Hunt. That could be a good balance between the two. Another running back off the board. How about them Cowboys? Tony Pollard gets another running mate besides Deuce Vaughn. I like Deuce Vaughn a lot, but they're going to need more than what they have now. James Conner could be that guy for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Conner is not a part of the Arizona Cardinals' future plans. And you'll look at where this offense is. They've already are gearing towards the future and beyond James Conner. So an Arizona Cardinals team that's well aware of who they are, I think they look at James Conner and they say, yeah, this might be our time to try to get something out of you while we can and build for our future here. Get some help along Pollard. You got a good 1-2 punch at that point. Deuce Vaughn, also an option. It's no secret. Mike McCarthy wants to run the football. That's why he took over play calling and fired Kellen Moore, because they wanted to go back to being a run-first team and run the ball. If you're going to be a run-first team, you got to have multiple running backs. James Conner, as, let's say, the RB2, could be exactly what the Dallas Cowboys are looking for. To me, that move makes sense for the Dallas Cowboys there. One more name before we wrap up on today's show. What team needs to make a move the most at the deadline? I've given you several so far. Now your chance to weigh in. Tell me who that team is that is the most desperate at this point in time. Last but not least, the Kansas City Chiefs. Go tight end. Another weapon for Patrick Mahomes. Oh, no. Everyone else in the league is nervous with this one. Zach Ertz finds his way to Kansas City to play tight end. Can you imagine the 2 tight end sets with Travis Kelce and Zach Ertz side by side? That's game over for everybody else, having to deal with those 2 together. That's not even fair, okay? Look, Patrick Mahomes with, all the Jimmies and the Joes that he's throwing the football to right now, other than Travis Kelce. They don't have a ton of weapons on that offense at the moment. You give him Zach Ertz, and things change. Then you get Zach Ertz in single coverage because Travis Kelce's taking on the double teams, and this offense really opens up and takes a huge step. This would be a sneaky good move. And Zach Ertz still has some good football left in him. So far this year, 22 catches, 146 yards, and a touchdown score. For more NFL coverage as we catch you down towards the trade deadline, subscribe now to NFL Daily by Chat Sports, and we'll see you next time right here on the channel. Thanks for joining.